Imagine, if you will, the sound of the wind gently whispering against the wooden shutters of a small, humble cottage. Outside, the world is blanketed in silence. Only the distant call of an owl and the faint crunch of snow if someone dares to walk. It is night, deep in the heart of winter, many hundreds of years ago. The medieval countryside, far from the bustle of great cities, where life moved slowly, and survival was an art of patience and care. You're here now, safe, warm, and as you settle in, let your breath slow. Let your eyes grow heavy. Tonight, I'll tell you a simple story. A story of those who came before us, of people who worked the soil, who lived close to the earth, and who faced winters without the comforts we know today. We'll explore how medieval peasants endured the coldest nights, not through great battles or grand feasts, but through small acts of wisdom, resilience, and quiet strength. So close your eyes. Imagine the soft glow of a hearth, the smell of wood smoke, the hush of snow against the roof, and let us begin our slow walk into the past. The world grows still. It is the 14th century. Deep winter has settled over the fields of England. The harvest was long ago gathered and stored. The days are short now, barely a stretch of light before darkness returns. In these months, survival becomes not about planting or reaping, but about waiting, enduring. Imagine the village, perhaps only 20 cottages scattered along a winding dirt track, now frozen and hard beneath the snow. Each cottage is small, built of wattle and daub, timber framework filled with straw and clay, its roof thatched thick to keep out the rain and frost. No glass in the windows, only wooden shutters closed tight against the biting wind. Inside, though, there is life. There is warmth. There is a family gathered close. The glow of a fire flickers, casting shadows on rough plaster walls. A pot hangs above the hearth, steam curling up as something simple simmers. Perhaps cabbage, perhaps a thick pottage of barley and peas. The smell is earthy and comforting. The wind rattles the shutters. But here, in this little room, there is safety. Here, there is the ancient rhythm of winter nights, quiet conversations, hands busy with mending, the soft breathing of animals kept close for warmth. The secret of warmth, the hearth. For medieval peasants, the hearth was life itself. Fire was not a luxury, it was survival. In a world without central heating, without insulated walls or thick glass, the fire was the heart of the home. It gave light when the sun was gone, heat when the frost crept close, and a place to cook when the world outside was silent and cold. Yet, keeping a fire alive was not simple. Wood had to be gathered before the snow came, bundles of twigs for kindling, logs for long burns. If wood was scarce, dried peat might be cut from the marshes, or even dried dung shaped into rough bricks. These too could burn slowly, giving out a gentle, smoky heat. And so, as night fell, the family would bank the fire, pushing the embers together, covering them with ash to keep them glowing through the dark hours. For if the fire went out completely, it would be a struggle to bring it back, especially when the world outside was frozen. Imagine the sound now, the crackle of logs, the occasional hiss as sap meets flame. Imagine the shadows dancing across rough-hewn beams and the soft murmurs of voices in the dim light. Sleeping close. The family bed now. When it was time to sleep, warmth came not from thick quilts or soft duvets, but from closeness. In many peasant homes, there was one main bed, sometimes little more than a frame of wood and ropes, topped with a mattress stuffed with straw or wool. Over this lay a few blankets. Wool, if the family was fortunate. perhaps heavy linen if not. The family shared this bed. Parents, children, sometimes even the very youngest nestled between them. To modern ears, it might seem strange, but to them it was simple sense. Body heat was precious. To sleep alone in the depth of winter would be to invite the chill to settle into your bones. In some cottages, even the animals were brought inside at night. Chickens, perhaps a goat, sometimes a small pig. Not for company, but for warmth. Each warm body added a little more heat to the single room where life was contained. Imagine this scene now. The soft rustle of straw, the gentle sigh of someone drifting into dreams, the faint crackle of the hearth as the last log settles into embers. And outside, the snow continues to fall, silent and patient. The art of layering clothing, too, was key to survival. Forget the idea of sleeping in soft nightclothes. Those were luxuries. A medieval peasant might simply loosen their belt, perhaps remove heavy boots, but they often slept in the same garments they wore by day, layers of linen under wool. If one had a cloak, it might be spread over the bed as an extra covering. Wool was the treasure of winter. Spun from the fleece of sheep, it was warm even when damp, and every household knew the value of good woolen garments. Sometimes they were rough, sometimes patched, but they were life-saving when the wind howled and the frost grew white on the fields. Feel for a moment the imagined texture of that wool against your fingers. Thick, slightly coarse, smelling faintly of the lanolin that once protected the sheep. And picture the dim interior of the cottage, lit only by the fire's glow and the faint, smoky gleam of a tallow candle. Quiet evenings by the fire. What did they do in those long hours before sleep? There were no books for most peasants, no glowing screens. Entertainment was humble, but it was enough. Perhaps someone mended a torn tunic, fingers working by firelight. Perhaps a mother spun wool into thread, the spindle whirring softly. Children might whisper stories or listen to old tales told again and again, voices low and soothing. Sometimes there was music, simple, unadorned, a flute carved from wood, a string stretched across a frame. The sound was thin but sweet, mingling with the crackle of the hearth. Outside, the world was deep in snow. The trees stood bare, their branches etched against the pale glow of the moon. Perhaps an owl called, perhaps far away, a wolf gave a low, mournful cry. But here, in the heart of this little home, there was peace. There was warmth enough to sleep,